maybe 3 classes happened. So what I would like is, a couple of you to volunteer to prepare some short notes on the classes so far. Okay, I think 3 classes have happened, right? So far, whatever classes have happened, I'll tell the topics, right? So we had introduction to UX design, then overview of UX design, difference between UX and UI, importance of UX in product development, right? Just for this topic, yeah, for this topic, I would like, a couple of you to prepare the notes, the key points you can prepare. Don't use AI, look at only the textbook material and prepare some key points. So I would like Reena and Sri Narahari. Can you do that, Reena?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you and take help of Sri Narahari. Prepare some short notes that we'll be uploading in our website. Okay, so it should cover about introduction to what is user experience and what is the difference between UX and UI, user experience and user interface. The textbook is available as the first chapter. You can prepare some concise notes. Okay. Now, Srinarari, are you there? Okay, if you are online, you should, respond. Otherwise, it's not right to log in and disappear. Okay. So when you are online, you should be active. Okay, so Reena, you take help from Srinarari and do it. Now, one class, little bit, I think one class we have taken on design thinking, right? I'm continuing on that. So, firstly, what is design thinking, right? So, to give an idea about design thinking, what we are, I'll give you one scenario, right? Um, so this is some example which is used by Stanford people. Stanford University is one which started promoting this concept called design thinking, right? How to think from a design point of view, right? So we'll give one specific scenario. What used to happen was that when a child is born, many children used to be very underweight. Okay, when a child is underweight, right? Typically, a child which is born should be at least 6 pounds or 4.5 pounds at least, right? 6 pounds or some are even 8 pounds, 9 pounds, and all that, right? So if the child is underweight, then it needs to be kept in an incubator, right? Till it becomes somewhat strong, right? And after that, only it can be taken outside. So incubator is required. Now this incubator means what? It is like some kind of a box, okay? Inside a child is kept, and I think that box is powered on. It has a battery and all that, right? Now, say in a village or something, a underweight child is born, right? Now that child has to be brought to a hospital, maybe far away, to be kept in an incubator. And many clinics, they will have to invest in an incubator. Incubator may cost, I'm just guessing, maybe some 20,000 or something, right? It's a big thing in the sense that, it should keep the child safe also, right? So this is a solution. So there was a challenge or something where people have to come up with the better method, better design for incubators. Sometimes when the power is off, then again it's a danger for children, all sorts of things, right? So uh, any volunteers here who can think how can we design incubators better, right? How can we solve this problem? Anybody? Shilpa, can you give your answer? Shilpa, you are there? Okay, then very common sense reasons you have to tell. What are the reasons you do not have access to something?
So financial issues.
Yeah, one, it may be costly, right? Second, what could be the second reason? Anybody else? What could be the second reason? Something it may be accessible, but for cost. Second reason, what is the thing? You have to participate. This is user experience class means you have to participate. Nandita,
Yes, sir.
what could be the reason where a child, cannot access an incubator? One, Triveni said it is cost. Now, okay, now we say that government came up with a scheme saying that cost is not an issue. What could be the second issue?
Sir, it might be availability, or it might be less availability of beds.
Okay, that is one. What else?
Um, uh, Power or low power issues, sir.
Any other? Praveen?
Sir, maybe lack of persons do not
Lack of?
persons are experienced kind of doctors who knows
Yeah,
how to.
lack of experienced people.
Yeah.
Fine, to run that facility. What else?
Sir, portability issues, sir. Portability issues, sir, so that the incubators cannot be carried to the rural areas.
Okay. So indirectly, you are telling the answer saying that distance could be an issue, right? Distance
Yes, sir.
could be an issue. The person may be in the village and then so they do not have access. Now we say that okay, now we have a solution where we are providing a service where we can carry that incubator right to the village. I mean, we are making it available in the village. Then what other issues can be there? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Now these are some of the general thinking, linear thinking. We look at it, right? One is that incubators, to use the incubator, the cost is very high. Okay, that is definitely one issue. Second, which I think Nandita told, is that okay, in a particular clinic, there are 3 incubators, but already there are 3 babies. No free incubators are available. And Triveni said, we can have sensors to monitor. Definitely, yeah, that's a positive thing, right? And she also thought about portability. That's also a good thing, right? But one team came with a solution where the solution is not an incubator. They reframe the problem. What is the problem? What is the stated problem was design a better incubator. This is the stated problem, is the design a better incubator to keep the baby warm and safe. Design a better incubator to keep the baby warm and safe. And what is the higher goal? Higher goal is that because the children, babies do not have access to incubator, many babies do not survive. So now you reframe the problem instead of the problem as designing a better incubator. You can say reframe the problem as how to keep the baby warm, how to keep the underweight baby warm. What is the intent? Instead of
To,
what
to
is it?
maintain the stable temperature.
Yeah. How to keep the baby warm becomes the intent. See, for a design, you can start with a problem and a solution, right? For a problem, you give a solution. Or you backtrack and look at what is the intent. Okay. So design, you have to go back to the intent to come up with a better solution. What is the intent? You have to keep the baby warm and at a stable temperature. Now, what other solution is possible with the incubator? Now, the first question is, why should we come up with a better solution, better than incubator? So one issue may be that availability of power, right? In a village, continuous availability of power may not be there, right? So that may be another issue. Portability may be another issue, and you need plug point, all the setup and all that. So one team came up with a solution which is like a blanket, okay, with some electrical fitting. It is like a warm blanket. You wrap around the baby. In fact, our rural women already know it. What they will do if the baby is underweight, right? They will cover it with multiple layers of clothing. That clothing of very thin material, right? Even the baby is having proper weight also, they will cover the baby because for thousands of years they know how to bring the babies up, right? Bring the all that they know. Our people already know. So now a modern looking solution is that modern looking solution is like a blanket, right? What is the advantage of an incubator compared to an older solution? An incubator may come with some measurements, right? And come with status monitor. At what temperature is the incubator and all that you can see because electrical mechanical solution, right? Now they came up with a blanket which is I think is battery operated, and then and these blankets are portable, and you can keep the baby inside the blanket. So that became like a solution. And I think that got some prizes and all that, right? So now what is the main point I'm trying to tell is that whenever we talk about design, what we say is the solution to a problem, right? We kind of touched upon this, right, last time, where we say that don't look at design as a solution to a problem. You look at what is the intent behind seeking a solution to a problem. Last time we looked at crossing the road, and instead of a costly flyover, we came up with a roundabout, right? So that is, you are solving the intent of a problem rather than designing a better flyover, right? Similarly, in Bangalore itself, right, some places instead of a flyover, they blocked certain turns and, they provided free left turn, redesigned the junction, right? And they came up with a solution. Otherwise, tell a teacher that they should get 95% results for their students. So when you frame a problem like that, what will the teacher do? Teacher will think, okay, now if I set good question papers, right? If I set good question papers, I will not be, what the management or the principal will think by putting a target to the teacher that 95% of the students pass, teacher will teach seriously, right? If I don't have any target, teacher will teach the way he wants or way she wants, and finally, only if 7 students pass out of 20, you will say, I taught and they didn't study. Now we want teacher to get involved. For that, what is the problem now? The main problem was the pass rate of students in a class was low. So what the management thought, okay, we have to design a solution to this problem. We got a target from the management or general public. General public, when they seek admission, they are saying, only 30% of your students are passing. Why will I put my child in your school or college? And then that target will go to principal. Management will tell the principal that, improve the passing rate, right? And they tell the solution is that we set a target to the faculty to ensure that they pass. Now, a question comes, how much should be the target? They say, why not? We should put 95%. Why less? Right. So now, once we put 95%, the expectation from the management is the teacher will teach well. The teacher will try their effort. They will work with each student, make sure they don't pass. Right. But what will teacher think? Teacher will think, okay, if what is in my hand now? In my hand, I can set the question paper make more easy, or I'll give hint to the students what kind of questions come, and I'll make them pass, right? But then what happens when you do that kind of a solution? The original intent, gets defeated in some way. That two possibilities will happen. There will be an external exam where these students they got used to getting 95% marks. They will not do well and they fail there. That is the second scenario where the students fail in the external exam. Then what happens? A lot of students are failing across the university in the external exam. Then the university thinks, if things like this happen, no students will come to our university. So we will lower the standards, right? So they, somehow, uh, try to pass as many people as possible. They will give them makeup tests, summer term, and all kinds of these things, and they get the results high. Now what happens? Once the standards are lowered, then whenever the students, right, they take a job or they do something, they don't do well, interviews they are not doing well, then the image of the university again goes bad, right? So they may just defer the problem to later, and then when it comes to the at the industry level, then they will say, okay, all this college education is of no use, right? It is not adding much value, right? Things like that. So now, what I am trying to say is that uh, while designing any solution, how you frame the problem becomes very, very important, right? And reaching the intent, right? So now, when we define the problem as improving the pass rate, right? So you relate it in such a way that you lower the standards of the exam, right? Then you come up with another solution, or you increase it like improve the teaching standard. You will come up with another solution, and if you say that improve the learning outcome, you will come up with another solution. So in that sense, the design thinking, how do you design the solution? Finally, you have to reach the stakeholders. Now, the problem which I gave you was more of an ecosystem problem. It's a little bit more complicated, right? But the what we learn is that finally designing a solution is, you start with the people. So there are different stages. So design at Stanford proposed some stages, right? So there's a person called Herbert Simon. Herbert Simon, he got a Nobel Prize for, he was a AI researcher from a university called Carnegie Mellon, right? They were Simon and Newell they were the proponents of classical AI, right? So he came up with something called bounded rationality. Okay. So what is bounded rationality? Bounded rationality means people stop with a good enough solution. People will not go for the best solution or best design, right? Most of the engineering is about optimizing. That means you maximize something or minimize something, things like that. Whereas in real life, people go for something good enough, like what is called bounded rationality, right? Now, say you want somebody wants to marry a good-looking girl or a good-looking boy, right? You will not go and try to marry some Miss Universe or Miss World, right? You find somebody who looks good enough to you. You stop with that. Otherwise, what happens? You are endlessly looking for a perfect husband or a perfect wife, and finally you reach that person. That person says, "You are not perfect for me," right? Or when you are looking for a job, again, you will not go for keep on searching till you find the highest package, or not the company will keep on searching for the best person. They will look for something which is good enough, right? And it's a bit fuzzy. Basically, what is the intent, right? Why do you need a job, right? You go back and I need it for livelihood, or you need a person for companionship, right? And these are not quantitative, these are somewhat emotional things, right? Or, you cannot specify. You may get somebody who is completely very good on paper, but you're still unhappy, right? So the first thing is they say that empathize with users. Whenever you are providing a solution, empathize with the users. Who is going to use it? Empathize with them, right? See, for example, I told about the customer. You want some help as a banking customer, right? What is the option? You go to that branch, right? When you go to a branch, I mean, they are open between, say, 9 to 3 or 10 to 4. Same time you are working. So they don't care. They say, this is our working hours. You want something, you come. Now people will say, no, we will have a, you can say you don't have to come, you call the branch. That is the solution. Now when you call the branch, they have not planned for one person to continuously take the call. Okay, they will say, okay, fine, we'll have this person, we are allotting this person who will take the call from customers, right? Now you put that one person, but when you see that, okay, maybe only some 10 calls come per day, now we say, why should we waste this person? This person is just sitting and doing nothing, right? Once in a while call comes, so we'll allot him, allot that lady work. Now what happens? There's a solution. As a customer, you call that branch and that lady, she's doing some other work. For once, she doesn't pick up. Second, even if she picks up, she will try to dodge, right? She won't give you proper response. You are unhappy. Then people are thinking, okay, now we have some 1 lakh branches. And in 1 lakh branches, right? If we put one extra person every branch, we need 1 lakh people. We have a centralized solution, right? Centralized solution. But now, what is the issue? When a person called a branch, right? In a branch, the number of people who are there are fairly limited, right? And after a few times, generally the people who call may be same, or the branch person may know that person. So she doesn't have to do too much of validation, right? She will say, you tell her name, you tell your name. She will just ask you one or two questions and you're on, right? And she will help you. And maybe once in a while you visit her or she knows you, right? Whereas we come to a solution where we have a nationwide call center number, right? Now this nationwide call center number is there, some random person picks up, right? And when that random person picks up, first time he has to validate. To validate what they say, you type some 16-digit account number. Now, all these things, what is it? Somebody is, already distressed. He types that number. Sometimes he make a mistake. Then again he validate. By the time he gets to speak to a person, he's already frustrated, right? And half the time, all these things don't work out, right? So now, why all this is happening? Because people are not putting themselves in the shoe of the end customer. So first thing, you empathize. What is the difference between empathy and sympathy? Sympathy is something when something happens to somebody, you feel bad. Empathy is something you put yourself in that position, right? Then you feel bad, right? Those who are working, right? Somebody comes and tells you that, recently I had a pay raise, or, recently somebody joined, my company, and she's getting more than me. I feel bad. Then you're thinking, okay, this person is already getting a lot of money. Why are you bothered with if somebody else gets more money than you? You do your work and go home. That's what you are thinking. But then, when the same thing happens to you, then you feel bad, right? Generally, any injustice, any pain, we realize when it happens to us, it does not, you don't feel the pain when something happens to somebody else, right? Things like that. So, empathy becomes very important where you put yourself in somebody else's position and see, if I were to do it, how do I feel? Do you think this is a good solution? So, that is very important whenever you design a solution. That is the first one. Second, define your users' needs, their problem, and your insights. So your users' needs you define. For example, what is the need of a user? we discussed about two problems. One, making sure the main need is to say keep a baby warm. And what is their problem? Their problem may be distance. Their problem may be, the ability to pay, and poor customer service. All this could be the user's problem. And if when it comes to the operators of an incubator, their problem may be staffing, not being able to monitor regularly, power fluctuations, right? Sudden peak load. Yeah, they are thinking of all their problems. But you don't stop there. Then you think, what are the insights? What is your insight? Right? That you have to think. See, this is very important. See, for example, going to the flyover problem, whenever you ask somebody, should we have a flyover? They will say, yes, okay, in this junction, there's a lot of jam, we need a flyover. See, many times you are not able to come up with a good solution because you lack what is called systems thinking. You think of a specific problem which will generate another problem, right? Generate another problem. So in case of flyover, what happens? You spend lakhs or crores of money and design a flyover, and you are inconveniencing people for 2 years or 3 years, and finally flyover happens. But what happens after the flyover? The traffic bottleneck shifts to another next junction. So you're not thinking of the at a system level, right? So sometimes flyovers are not, main issue is not flyover, but the overall junction design is a problem. So you need some insight whenever you're having a problem. I can tell you with the education system, right? When we were studying, there was only annual exam, and college tests were, not carrying any marks. In the college, they used to conduct tests, right? And finally, you prepare people for final exam. Then what happened? Some colleges, students will not study at all during the regular thing, and they think that anyway I can prepare well for the final exam. And in some other colleges, so what happened? People came up with something called a semester system, where certain weightage was for external exam, certain weightage for internal exam. Then the students thought, okay, now what matters is that I should get marks in internals. So I will not bother about anyway 50% marks. I will not bother about attending the class. I will just give the test. Before the test, I'll prepare well. So like that they thought. Now what the colleges saw that, okay, these students are giving the internal test. They're not waiting for the final test. When people wait for final test, what happens? Many people also fail, right? So, or they don't really learn, they just pass, right? So now tests people are giving, but then students are realizing that, okay, what really matters is the test. So then they, do not attend classes. Then what the colleges do that now to make sure that students attend, they put a criteria, this much attendance you need. Then students are attending classes, but they're not paying attention. Then they say, okay, we'll give some assignments, you do that. Then you give assignments to students copy or do AI, like that. So every problem, right? Every solution leads to a new problem. So you really need to think, step back and think, what is the design of a solution? So you have to define the problem. What is the problem? And the way you define, right? The solution becomes different, right? So if you define the problem is that, students are not attending the class, you get one solution. You define the problem, there's something else. So the real problem when you define it, that the students are really not interested in studying, right? Now the question is, you still come back and understand why students are not interested in studying. Students are enrolling because only they are looking only for job. They are not looking for knowledge. Then you look back and say that should every job need a degree? Can we lower the requirement for job, right? So you come up with another kind of solution, right? Can they just go and get trained on the job instead of getting a degree? Yeah, so this is about defining. Now ideate. Empathize was the first step, define is the second step, ideate is the third step. By challenging assumptions and creating ideas for innovative solutions. How do we create idea for an innovative solution, right? To challenge assumptions, right? Instead of attendance, you can say engagement score, right? Or you ask people to record their learnings in every class. Every class you can record your learning, right? That is a proxy. They're looking at a new way of solution. That is what is called ideate. Fourth is called prototype, to start creating a solution. You create a warm blanket, right? Just a warm blanket. Now, what is a warm blanket, right? You can have some warm water which can be contained, right? Which is not very, dangerous to a child, and that warm water is inside, so it keeps the child warm. So that could be one solution. And you have a prototype, and you try it with the. You may not be able to try directly with a child, but you somehow look at the temperature, and if it is safe, just try it out once, right? And then what happens, you see. Then you have to test it, test the solution. So if anything related to human beings, right? There are clinical trials. You have to try that solution. Even it can be a device. It can be something like a something like a bone replacement. There are some you have to get government approvals or even a payment solution. You have to get approval by regular. So all that testing becomes the fifth stage, right? So you have empathize, you have define, you have ideate, you have prototype and test. So these five becomes the steps. In a regular software, what are the test requirements? Design, implementation, testing, and deployment, right? Because generally you are looking for somewhat straightforward solution. Whereas in design thinking, you are really looking for innovative solutions, and that's why you are starting with them, right? Then define, then ideate, right? We feel, say, for example, an attendance solution, you feel, or a payroll solution, you feel there is nothing you can gain by asking users, and you have to do the pay slips. So you feel these are all very standard. So not much design thinking is required, right? But want to do something more, definitely design thinking is there, right? They now say, for example, where credit, you have a billing app. Billing app can send a bill by email, right? Or in the text itself, it can say that this is the amount you have to pay, right? And then only you open the attachment. And this is very helpful. If your payment is zero, then you are saving the effort for a user to open that attachment. So even something which is very plain vanilla flavor, you can keep on improving the design. Okay. So these are the 5 steps. And he says these are not sequential in the sense that you do it once it's done. It could be iterate. It could be iterative, right? After empathize, you define, and again you go back to empathize, right? Or you after ideate, you again go back to define, prototype, go back to ideate or test. So you may do it in an iterative manner. So these are neither sequential nor hierarchical, but they're linked to each other. They're somewhat cyclical and iterative. Right. So one of the issues, right, For anything, we have a name, we have a form, and we have properties and purpose. For anything, you have name, form, properties, and purpose, right? And we have a thinking which is based on the pattern, right? We tend to think in a somewhat, regular pattern, right? We think somewhat standard based on the examples we are used to, right? Based on that we think, right? So when we say, when we ask you to design a chair, what is it that you're thinking? Can you tell me? Joshika, when we say you have to design a chair, what is it that you're thinking? What is a chair?
Height and width, so
What is it?
height and width.
Yeah, speak louder. Yeah, are you able to hear me? When we say we have to design a chair, what thoughts come to your mind? Triveni?
Yes, sir.
You have to design a chair, what thoughts come to your mind?
So first I need to think of what is the purpose, like
Okay.
for what
One is,
purpose
but
design.
typically, what is it that you go and ask somebody to make a chair? So what does he think about, right? So what is chair?
How many persons can accommodate, like
Okay.
material of the chair?
Comfort,
What is a chair?
comfort and safety, sir.
Huh?
Comfort and safety.
Okay, but generally what you need to do, you're
The space, how much
okay,
space?
okay, but that is kind of, let's say that one person has to sit on a chair, but what is a chair?
Even a overweight person should, it should sustain that weight.
Okay, that is one thing. But basically, first thing, when we say that you have to do a chair, what do you think you have to make?
The legs, how many legs? Like
Okay, first thing you are thinking is how many legs a chair has. How many legs does chair have?
4.
So
Basically,
should every chair have 4 legs?
not,
No, right?
no.
Okay. But first thing which comes to our mind is that a chair should have 4 legs, right? Now, chair is for somebody to sit, right? Now, so where else a person can sit? How else a person can sit? How else a person can sit? Can anybody tell? Triveni,
Yes, sir.
how else a person can sit other than chair?
I accept chair. What is the other
Yeah.
way to sit?
Yeah.
He can use any like a stool kind of thing or a
So
sofa.
a person can sit on a stool. Then what else?
On the floors.
A person can sit on the floor. When is chair not a good idea?
Space, sir. Means space is an issue.
No. In which context chair is not a good idea? A person is preferably sits on a floor. You can say in your homes, temples, anywhere you can tell me. When is chair not a good idea? Or when, what are the disadvantages of chair?
Occupies more space.
One, it occupies space, right? Then what else?
The
Okay,
seating
now,
capacity
yeah,
will be
now,
reduced.
okay, now we are at the point of occupying space, right? What can we do? We chairs occupy space is one issue. What can we do to solve that problem?
Instead of using chairs, we can use benches, right, sir? So that it can accommodate more number of people.
Okay, one is instead of chair, we can use bench. What other things can we do with the, we are looking at both kinds of options. One, instead of chair, what else can we do? One is a bench. And second is, what can we do to the chair? So now, can you talk about benches were one option we got. What other way people can sit, Joshika? Anybody else? And what can we do to the chair? Now, one problem we got was that a chair, occupies space. How can we
Folding
resolve?
chairs.
Okay, now, so when we say chair occupies space, you are coming up with the solution that you can have a folding chair. That's good. What else can we do? What else can we do?
Sir, the arm of the chair can be removed so that it can accommodate instead of sitting one person, two person can adjust. That's it.
Okay, arms of the chairs can be removed, right? And then they are kind of linked to one another. Okay, that is one way to design. Then what else? What else can be there done? What other ways people can sit? Say, let's say that somebody wants to do a puja. Can they sit on a
Floor
chair and do?
mats.
What is it?
Floor mats. Or
Yeah,
they can sit on the floor mats.
floor mat is one way. Or say on floor mat, it is probably a little dirty. Then what other solution can you provide? Floor mats can become dirty, right?
On
What
the floor, they can sit on the floor.
floor can be dirty, right? What other solution?
They can stand. They
Okay,
can just stand.
stand is too long, right? What other solution? Okay, now yeah, people can have a slightly, I don't know what is the word to call in English, but slightly heightened heightened seat. It's not maybe 3-4 inches high. People can sit on that, right? So then when once you no longer need it, you can keep it aside, or you probably which will suit some kind of an environment like a puja room. Okay, now you want to give something which is little more looking modern or something. What kind of a solution you are looking for a uh, seat for seating? What other things you have seen, which is kind of giving it a different look? Can you think of it? Okay, now to get your thinking better, you think of material. See, when the creativity also comes from constraint, right? Creativity, whenever there's a constraint, again you have creativity, right? So think of a constraint, and then you also come with the creativity, right? Now, if you want to do now, what material you are thinking of doing with the chair with? What is the material which you want to use?
Wood,
Wood. Okay. Any other material possible? With what other material we can use?
wood can sustain
No.
more
What
overloads.
other material can you?
Fiber,
Fiber. Then only these two. Wood and fiber.
plastic,
Plastic. So what is the advantage of plastic?
easily washable.
What
We can
else?
clean it.
What else? When it comes
Of
to making
Lightweight,
the chair, what advantage does plastic give? When
Low
you're,
cost.
huh?
Low cost.
Yeah, I mean that is fine. What advantage? What other ways you can make a chair? How do you make a chair?
lightweight, sir.
How do you make it? I mean,
Make
she said wood. After wood, what happens? What do you do with the wood? How do you make chair from wood?
with the machine. They will shape the carpenter will
Yeah, so
shape
you
the
are cutting and shaping, right? You are cutting, you have some material, and then you are cutting it and shaping it to your form, and then you are making a chair. So if it is a plastic, will you make it using the same way?
not possible, sir.
How to do a plastic chair? Can you do a bit of research?
Mold using some
Mold. It
kind
is
of
called,
mold.
yeah, molding. Okay. So now when you are molding, what is the advantage you have?
mass productions can be done, sir.
That is one. But what other advantage you have when you are molding?
It saves time.
No. What other possibilities it will open up when you are molding? You can mold it the way, the shape you want, right? You can mold it the shape you want. There's a wood or something, right? You cannot bend it, it will break. There's only certain ways you can make it, whereas the plastic is much more amenable. So you can have a chair, say for example, with only one leg, and the whole thing, it can be like a bucket, it can be any other thing. So the plastic again will get you better ideas how you can do a chair, things like that. So just about the chair, there are so many other ways, and you can have so many other ways to sit. You can have bean bags, you can have some that bamboo thing. There are different ways you can sit. So so that is what it is in terms of the pattern of thinking. You go beyond the four legs, right? Then you can have steel chairs, glass chairs, then connected chairs. So many ways you can design a solution where people can sit, and people can sit for puja, people can sit to have a relaxing time, people can sit in a boardroom, people can sit for long, right? For each, and people can sit to show authority. Each and everything, it becomes a research topic when you're just thinking of a chair, right? So many different ways you can do, right? And seating in a car will be different, right? So many other ways, right? A wheelchair is another way, then you don't have to lift it, all sorts of things. So that's what, you have to really imagine, visualize, rationalize all of the abilities of your mind. You are coming in, right, to when we have a simple thing called chair. So anything, as I said, it has a name, form, and function. Name, form, and function, and purpose, right? Name, form, and function. Function is a person can sit. Now, what is the purpose? A person is sitting, right? So things like that. Some restaurants, they don't make the chair very comfortable, because if you make the chair very comfortable, people sit for too long, right? And then new customers will be standing. So it goes beyond that as well. Now, Ashwini, you
Yes,
are
sir.
there?
Present, sir. Yes, sir.
Chinmay, you are there? Chinmay? Dania?
Present, sir.
Joshika?
Present, sir.
Meghana? Nandita?
Present, sir.
Praveen?
Present, sir.
Reena?
Present, sir.
Sabrine?
Present, sir.